So recently, I ran a workshop on how to help people find their ideal job. And in this session, I specifically talk about how to create your a resume that land jobs, how to create a LinkedIn profile that is attractive to recruiters, how to prepare for your interview with confidence, and how to essentially create a work portfolio that is attractive and that gets jobs and interviews. So in this session, I will be essentially discussing how to do these for your job search, and I think you will learn a lot. And so make sure that you take some notes and keep a notebook and take some notes. And I think you will enjoy this session a lot. And I'll see you on the session. Okay.
Very interactive session, so you don't need to really wait until the last moment to ask questions or anything. You can, honestly, if you have a question, just raise your hand and ask the questions, and I'm more than happy to, take some time to answer that. So, I'd love to know where everybody is from. Oh, Chicago, Kevin, thank you so much. Great to have you here. Love to know what type of roles also you guys are going in for, what type of roles you're applying for, and so forth. So love to know, like, so we'll use like the first 5 minutes, right? Like little bit of a icebreaker and see where everybody's from and how everybody's doing. So I will use that. Okay, Rabi, great. From Canada, ideal. That's great. Very good. I'm actually from Canada as well. I don't know if I think the a lot of you joining me from Meetup. So I'm in from Canada, Toronto as well. Annie, great, love it, perfect. Oh, fourth year UFT student, AJ, perfect. I went to UFT as well. I studied actually long time ago psychology, but then I ended up in tech actually. So I'll give you kind of that story as well, where how I ended up in an industry where completely different industry than what I actually studied, and I'll kind of give you how I got started. So I think that would be really useful experience for you. Morsi, very good. Thank you for joining us. Rosie, I think hopefully I'm pronouncing your names right. Adrika, great. Rosie, that's great. Pharmacist, okay. Filmic, wow, that's impressive. That's amazing. Let's see. Raghunathan, let's see. Currently, Canada came here for Shadav. Oh, 10 years in HR, fantastic. Okay, very good. I might have things to learn from you actually. Let's see. Annie, great. AJ, great. Uh, Islam, that's great. Morsi, okay, you go Morsi, that's fantastic. Gyro, perfect. Systems engineer, perfect. Cicero, Roji, oh, okay, got it. Okay, got it. Fantastic. Cloud computing, okay, I could study develop for cloud computing as part of my program. Actively co-op positions, fantastic. Okay, that's good. That's very good, Kieran. And Nick from America, new to Canada. Okay, civil engineering. Okay, I know there's specifically, civil engineering side have a lot of demand in Canada these days, especially the trade sides are coming up. So, but yeah, like, there seems to be a lot of people from different backgrounds. So I'll kind of give you. I'll start with my background soon. We'll give you a couple of more minutes. So that's great. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And if you have any specific questions right now as well that you want to kind of ask, like one of the things that we will be essentially talking about, we'll be talking about kind of like my system that I created to help people get roles, right? So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I used in there and in the session. So yes, Islam, you had a question? Go ahead. Go for it. No.
Hello, hi, Dolly. Yeah,
Hi, Islam, go for it.
thanks so much for this presentation. I have one question.
Yeah.
Why it's very very hard here? I felt because I have already like in Canada, specifically in Canada.
Yeah.
Just want to know why it's very difficult to find a job here or just to get paid attention among the other profiles. This is what I felt at the moment.
Right. So are you talking about like just applying through resume, or are you talking about like LinkedIn, and are you talking about mix of things? How have you been kind of like looking for jobs?
I already knocked the door, yeah, from Indeed and then LinkedIn and also Job 4, but it's very rarely to find out, and it's very slow process. This is I as per my experience previous to last month. Yeah.
Right. I know it's a lot of people have been telling me like it is getting a little bit tight in the market. But I'll show you specifically some of the things that I'm tried out with my clients, and some of the I'm gonna show you about like eight steps. That's one of the things that I'm gonna show you. And usually the people who are kind of do that, those 8 steps have increases the probability of chances of getting hired. So I'll kind of share with them, see if you are doing some of them from your side as well, and kind of introduce some of them, because I know like when people are like it, you're right. I think there is a little bit of a there's a tightness in the market. I think it is happening, but I think certain roles, because I see like there's certain other roles are picking up. I think what's actually happening is that certain roles are being renamed under different titles, and then people don't know these titles. So but certain companies are still looking for that specific title. For example, if you look at like account manager jobs, that job is now listed as customer success manager, right? So like things like that. So there's jobs like that, but people don't know like that. You know what I mean? If you've been an account manager for a while, you don't know like you have to apply for customer success manager jobs as well. So there are situations like that as well, where names have changed because of the tech industry and everything. Because I've noticed like even there's a position called like a solution architect, which I was, and I didn't know that when I was like first starting my career. I didn't even know the solution architect. I thought that's architecture was to do with buildings, but in tech there is a role called that. So names have changed. So I would kind of give you that advice as well. Kind of open up your scope of job titles that you apply for. Right, you might have increase the probability with that. But I'll also share with you some of the ways that like I've experimented with, because I've been doing this for the last 2-3, actually 4 years, kind of like trying to figure out a system that helps people get jobs faster and quicker, right, without applying for endless amount of jobs. So I'll share some of the things that I've discovered, kind of introduce those things into your system, but also think about for you in your situation, opening up your job title range. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for your presentation also, and your answer for my question. Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
we
we'll
are
get
waiting
started as well. But I
yeah.
think one more question, I'll answer that quickly. And because I think a lot of the informations that, you were asking me, people have will kind of, you probably be answered, because in the previous sessions when I ran this event, people found it very useful. And there is actually I'm continually publish the videos on it, but it takes some time because tend to be like 1.5-2 hours long, right? So so stay with me in the full session. I feel like you will learn a lot of stuff from that. So Nick, please go ahead. I know you had your hand up for a while.
Dole, thank you for the meeting. And I had a just quick question. Could you please just put some light on skilled trades? Because as I said, I'm here, although I have a very good civil engineering background, and I'm do that. But some of friends, they are suggesting, oh, please go to skills trades, because they have like more job opportunities. You're new here, your experience out of Canada will not count here. So if possible to put some light on this as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, Nick. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think that's one of the things that because I'll be honest, right? Like when I initially started my career, I actually studied psychology. Actually, I'll roll to that slide so you can see as well. I actually studied psychology, so I didn't really have a background in tech or anything like that. So when I graduated in 2012. When I was looking for career, most of the time it was everybody saying, the tech is the best thing to get into. So I got into tech, right? So and that was the most popular thing, and then it was very successful for the last 10 years or so. I've been working at tech. I worked at Oracle. I worked as a solution architect, worked as a director, work with developers. I did the whole thing, right? So but now I see the kind of the trend going where more and more demand for specifically civilian, like specifically to trade side, things like carpentry, things like like project management in real estate, things like that, things that are really related to, especially if you're joining this call from Canada, a lot of things related to real estate is picking up, right? Because obviously we are having a population boom, and also we are also like other services as well, right? Like if you're like, I think it's just we are going through just a transitionary period where we are going through like a recession like cycle. But if you're setting to going into trades, or if you're going into more skills, hands-on skills, even tech still, there will be demand coming up, because I feel like a lot of, compared to other countries, Canada is having a lot of people come to this country with a lot of skills and a lot of income, right? So going forward, I think like things like real estate, like professional services, tech, like like if you're a knowledge worker, it still will be very it will look good. But I think we're just going through a transitionary period of like, we're basically kind of after effects of COVID and people working from, I think we're trying to adjust to that. So, but the thing is, if you're looking into getting into skill side of things, I even encourage, especially when I'm guiding university students and college students, I tell them, what, great that you're studying the academically, you need to be sound, but pick up a skill on the side, especially things onto the trade side, right? Like, try things out on your own, like start a project on your own. Like I actually, it's funny, again, it goes back to my journey. How I ended up in Oracle is basically I created basically a website, which is like my trade skill, which is building website, and I help people with resumes as well now. But building website was like my first like side business or side hustle, right? And that was a very valuable trade skill that helped me later on, and that's one of the skills that actually helped me get into Oracle as well. Even though I never had a background or any, like I didn't take any IT degree or like certification. I had nothing at that time. But the fact that I, started that project on the side, like for myself, right? That really helped me, and that was like a project that I was able to show them, and they hired me, obviously, right? So that's something I would say. So even if you're applying for jobs and you're not getting too much, like, work on your side projects and develop your skills. Like if you're thinking of business, use your business and your side projects in mix and get that commercial experience, right? Commercial experience that you can, because when you go to work, like a lot of things, like when I work as for tech companies, I specifically Oracle, and as a solution, I help companies kind of put together technology that are like separate technologies together. So when I'm working for my own stuff now, I had to do the same thing with email marketing software, webinar, Meetup, all these things, right? So I would say like the really valuable thing I learned was like when I didn't have jobs, I even struggled after I graduated from UFT. It took about 2 years for me to find something that is meaningful. So there was a lot of periods of down in that two years. But in that time, I started to work on, small project, right? To, advance my skills. And that really helps. So work on, if you have a idea of writing a book, starting a blog, doing like some home project, or doing a little bit of consulting on your own. If you don't have a job right now, just say that you're doing consulting and read books and try to find clients for your consulting. So that's one of the things that I did. And I ended up with, building websites for people. But if you have something that you are inclined to, don't wait until you get your actual job that you love to develop that skill. So work on that on your own will be what I recommend. So I think hopefully that answered your question, Nick. But
Yeah,
it kind of,
thank you.
Connected with my introduction as well.
Sure, thank you.
So that's what I would recommend. So yeah, so that's kind of how I actually kind of got started in my career as well. I started at Oracle, and then became essentially a technology consultant for various companies. I worked about, about I think 4 or so consulting companies in addition to Oracle. And that's a lot of the time where I help a lot of consultants, like how I got a lot of my career development, professional development experience is from like training consultants and advancing their career. So like I've had people who had no experience in tech, just like I did, right? Started in, doing Salesforce, doing, email marketing, digital marketing, and getting people started in that without zero experience, because I told them, the things that they should be studying, they should be focusing on. So that I'm going to show you actually a couple of people who I started with, so you can kind of, we'll kind of show you, what are the things that we did. So that's kind of this. So my last role I had before I started my own company was a director of one of the top media companies. So that's where I kind of, made the decision, rather than only just helping, companies, I want to help people. So I started to, write books about like, professional development, personal development, and career development and so forth. So now I'm actually advising companies as well and executives for like, more, like the business advising capacity as well. So I'm kind of getting to see like what the hiring trends are, where, what type of skills are in demand. So I'm sure I'm going to be sharing some of the things that I'm learning from that as well. So, and then I take a very evidence-based approach to my development, because I realize like, some of the evidence you will see like for career research, there's not a lot of research. What I do is that I collect a lot of data, when somebody, if they go through my program. So if they, give me specific feedback after, running a specific session, I use that as data to like make my sessions improve. So that's what I mean by evidence. So I collect my own evidence, because there's not a lot of evidence out there yet on specifically career development, because it is changing a lot, right? So that's kind of how what I'm doing currently. So I'm going to show you a couple of people who, work with me. I think some of some of you may be able to relate to them. So one of the individuals I actually started was he was completely, he was actually one of the first clients I worked with a while ago. And he studied geography and philosophy. I think I'm not too sure, but then he wanted to start a career in tech. So he had no idea. And then I showed him, like if you study these certifications, and I told him to start in specifically Salesforce, because that was the most ideal, and that was what was related to me. And within 2-3 years, he becomes essentially a consultant in the field. So that's what I mean. Like I have experience kind of getting people started as consultants in specifically tech fields, but over the last 2-3 years, I've been able to help in other fields as well, like sales and human resources, and specifically project management. I have had quite a few people started in project management, but it's again another thing. I think we talked a little bit about account management, but project management roles, again, if you're looking into, it's a very in demand role. But even if you pick up like PM skills, project management skills, even your current roles, you can advance quicker, because it is a very needed skill. Okay, so that's very important. And it's something like, for example, when I'm hiring, if I see you have PM skills, it's going to stand out, essentially what I'm saying, right? So that's something to kind of think about. Quick pointer there. So the same with Izuru. So Izuru, when I started with him, he was actually working as in hospital industry. He was working in healthcare, and he wanted to get into again tech. So again, that's where most of my experience is coming from. I showed him, this is the pathway. This is what you can do. In about year or two, you can make about 90 to 100K. And then go from there. So, but I'm just showing the people who I just got. There's also like, advisors and executives that I've kind of got them promotions and things like that. But these are the people who basically, when I created these slides and this program, I kind of targeted people who want to like transition or kind of advance their career if they don't have the career they want right now. So those are the two people. So I'll talk about the program that when I work with them through. So Raj, please go ahead. I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Yep, it's not relevant to this what you said right now, but
Mhm.
I actually do run a company, as you mentioned about the consulting.
Okay.
So yeah, so my company basically does provide the consultant for existing companies that are over here, like in Canada or the USA, and basically I replace their employees with my own employees. So, but right now I'm facing a big trouble trying
Okay.
to find the clients.
Okay. So
So
specific, what type of clients? What's your clients that you're trying to target? Like ideally.
yeah, so ideally I would target those clients who have an IT company or let's
Okay.
say who have a digital marketing agency or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so those are my ideal clients to look for.
Okay. I see. I mean, that's. I think this is. I'm actually having a session on like specifically how to get clients for your business. I think it's a digital one. Might have to change the name on that, but I think we can talk a lot more about that in that session, right? But one of the things that I found to be very effective is running events. Actually, so that's something to be like when I'm looking at my where a lot of my leads and things that are coming, or a lot of people coming for events, seems to be the most effective, and you can build a lot of trust that way as well, and you can answer people's question, so it helps you build credibility. And I think the next question we probably have is like, how do you get leads, or how do you get people to join your webinar, right, or event, bro? So that's one of the things that I kind of tested, like my experiment, a lot of things, like even when I'm doing like resumes and things like that, like my thing is like testing it out. Like unless I test it out, I wouldn't know. Like I thought, like for me, when I was first initially doing that, like LinkedIn would actually be very effective, but what actually happening was Meetup for me was more effective. Like especially I do career development stuff and professional development stuff, right? So for whatever reason, like I connect with people a lot more in webinar type sessions, and I can give a lot more information. So I thought I would be because I'm a pretty good writer, I would say. So I actually write on LinkedIn, but I don't have a lot of engagement on that. But on these type of sessions, I have a lot of engagement. So I would say experiment like your channels and your sources. I think that that will help you out. But I think what we'll do, right, we can maybe talk a little bit of more further if you need, and then you can join my that session as well. I'm writing it for people who want to start business. So I'm kind of bringing from my marketing background I had, because I specifically, when I was doing in tech, I worked on marketing technologies, right, like email marketing, social media marketing tech. So so we'll talk about that, some of the things that I found. So this session, let me know if you have other questions either way though.
No, fine. But I'm gonna join the other session.
Yeah, please join it. Yeah, I think anyone who's looking to start a company or who's looking to improve their digital marketing, I'm kind of probably change the name of it, but please join me on that. We'll talk more if you want to.
It would be really nice if you can give your email address over here, so I can just write you email or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what I'll do is like I'll get you on my newsletter, so you can quickly like reply to using that as well. So I'll put that here. Just give me a second. Yeah, so that's actually a newsletter I'm just started. Like there's a lot of information on it already. So especially right now, it relates to career development, but I'll get into more about related to specifically starting businesses and side hustles and side businesses as that, because that's what I have a lot of experience as well. But I see a lot of people need help with like getting a job, right? So so all right. So Niasha, go ahead, please.
Okay. Hi, Deluc. So I know you're actually going to cover exactly how we can actually get a position within our industry. So mine is HR. It's been a journey for me. My problem was it's stop and go. Okay. So it's really just looking for something within the HR industry, something I want to do mentoring and coaching for career transitioning, because I know that's booming as well. A lot of companies do need that, but I just need to know how to get started It's something like that.
So you would say, like, what would you say your ideal role would be? Like, your, like, say if I was to say, like, this is actually one of the things that I do is, because like I would ask them to like list out like what your most favorite 5 responsibilities,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
So yeah, you can even tell me now, right? But one of the things I would say, like, you can think about is like go through, job description of various roles. Like, this is exactly the same thing I do with my clients, right? So I
okay.
tell them to go through go through like Indeed or LinkedIn and go through
Okay.
about 5 to 10 job description for each
Right.
of the roles that you thinking that would be ideal for you, right?
Okay. So I
Then
see.
yeah.
Right. 'Cause I see your dream job here, which is really good the way you broke that down. So I think for mine is more of um for the mentoring and coaching for career transitioning, it would be more, I guess, learning more about employee engagement, learning more about management, the
Right.
management department, and then I guess the pros and cons of what is lacking within the organizations, right?
Right. I think one of the things, like when I'm working with B2B companies, one of the things that I see as the most demand is that I see like companies need help, like transitioning people into managers, and then
Okay.
directors, and then VPs. Like, I see like a lot of people, because they don't like, because it's to do with a lot to do with that, like how good you are with people specifically, right? Like emotional intelligence, and how well can you like set goals and action plan. Like, a lot of people are not getting this training when you like increasing like your like responsibilities, you know what I mean? So I would say kind of looking into that arena as well, kind of like, so that way you can say, it's transitioning into, rather than different roles, you can say transitioning into more management type of roles, kind of something for you to take a look.
Oh, management. Okay. I know because I've always been pushed into management. I think I was fairing because I didn't feel like I would be able to like deliver or
Ah,
meet the expectations of the organization. I just
right,
don't feel like I'm management material, but no,
right.
I definitely will take that advice from you. And I was
But your
wondering, are you
focus is
gonna?
more transitioning people into different roles then, eh?
Oh, okay.
No,
Are
I
you,
mean,
are,
is that your target?
yeah, more like sitting down because there's employees nowadays where they don't know exactly they're in a role, but they've been in that role for like 10, 15 years or 20 years, but they
Yeah.
don't know exactly what the next move is. But I guess through my education and through my work experience, I've been trained by leaders of
Yes.
how to maneuver
Yeah.
myself as well as
Mhm.
others. So it was more of okay, you know, um, if I were to have like say get into an organization where I can sit down one on one with employees and then kind of guide them and direct them, I think it would be very beneficial.
Right, right. So yeah, I think like, are you looking for like a full-time role type of like that, or
I
are you?
am, yeah.
Right.
I'm like, because what happened, I had my exposure in the city of Toronto
Okay,
as a trainee. The
nice.
problem is it takes so long just to get in. And I
Right.
just needed something right now just to like, because I did do a presentation for them of
Okay.
why they should incorporate career transitioning. So I don't know if that will pay off in the near future for them,
Yeah.
but you
But I
know,
think you should also look into this type of title called talent development.
talent development.
Yes, that's what you should look into, because I think your type kind of like, it's again, like I said, it's name's changed, right? So
Oh yes.
so like that's now is, in recruiters have also talent acquisition also, things like that, right? So I think, yeah, I think that's why you're trying to like get at. So looking into, I think for you ideally would be talent development. I think there is a lot of talent development roles, because it's to do with learning and development, right? So I think you're very
Right.
niche in that regard, where you're specifically talking about like moving people. But I think avenue you should be looking into is talent development. I think that would be the idea, especially if you have when you have HR background.
Okay, perfect. And will you be like sending, I don't know if you'd be sending the presentation to my
Yeah, I will
email.
I will basically send the recorded session.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
All right. Thank you so much, Duluc.
absolutely, for sure. Try it out. Yeah, it's great. So Tabby has a question. So I'm working in the engineering industry. I'm struggling to moving up in a say leadership role. So one of the things, it's so funny. Like when I started my career, I didn't I mean, I wanted to I love management. Like for me, that's one of the things I noticed. I love management. I love coaching people, mentoring. That's one of the things I love to do. I mean, if you have a definite love for it, then it will definitely help you with growing into a leadership role, especially if people are already coming to you. But one of the things that really helped me, Temi, is me going into different events and just meeting people, and then just having basically even just normal events, just going into more going out with friends more, talking to my colleagues from past. So just talking to them, and some of them, what happens is when I'm becoming more social and talking about what I'm working on, and they ask you, what, are you interested? We have this opening, right? So sometimes for me, the internal promotions that I've gotten, it really came from basically joining different committees and getting to know more people inside the company. But if you want to make a transition to a different company, what I would say is essentially kind of the same thing, but you essentially hanging around with more people, especially sessions like this. Also, you can join speaking Toastmasters, or joining associations related to your field, right? So things like that will, because that social aspect is what really kind of helped me kind of go in the ladder. Because they started to say not only I'm coaching and guiding people, I was good at my job. So people kind of saw that, and they naturally gravitated towards giving me leadership. So I kind of didn't, in the beginning I wanted it, but later on I realized it's I was naturally getting them anyway, because of the kind of the behaviors I was exploring. But if you already have a interest towards leadership, I think you will definitely go into growing in that side, because not I've noticed in the field when I'm coaching people, not everybody will want to become a leader. Not everybody want to become a manager, because it's a different set of responsibilities, right? So if you have an interest towards it, I say definitely the most important thing you can do, definitely develop more relationship with colleagues and co-workers, help them out, right, whenever you can. I mean, again, don't miss your work, right, but help them out, people around you, your boss, everyone, as much as you can, while maintaining your mental health. And the other thing is already, obviously read more books, takes more courses, do these basic things that will improve your leadership skills and your communication skills, right? So communication skills, specifically things like public speaking, right? And writing well is actually valuable leadership skills. Like for me, to this day, I think two of the most valuable skills I have is writing and speaking, and I tell that to everyone, and then use that writing and speaking to get more eyeballs in front of you, essentially. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of mentality that I would recommend for you. Hopefully that answered.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So Rosie, yes, this session will be recorded for sure. Yes, right. So I mean, likely that this will go for more than 90 minutes. So yeah, so it will be, usually it does go for about 2 hours. So stay with me. I think still there will be, I think, interesting pointers that I think will help you. Create on group. That's a good thing. I think MG had a meetup group request for you, Nyasha, so you can look into that. Perfect. So one of the first things that I want to kind of talk to you about, a lot of people, I've noticed that when I was first kind of initiating this, creating this program, right? Going back, it's the week 2. One of the things that I do with my clients is essentially get them getting a good resume prepared, because one of the main and most important things still is having a great resume that showcases your experience, your skills, your abilities, and any accomplishments and certifications you have gotten in the past. So, and I see a lot of people when I'm consulting, and I see a lot of people don't have a resume that actually stands out and speak to the recruiter. So I created essentially this resume, right? This especially this style, like this style I have, specifically the one I talk about in here have 7 sections. It has the header, the professional summary, the skills and abilities, the experience, and the certifications and education. I think there's also the hobbies and interest one as well, but you don't need to always put them. That's optional. But having and dividing your resume in this form, I found, again, this is the evidence from my research and helping my clients. And I would say like when we look at the numbers recently, we have about 90% success, people who kind of get our resume, LinkedIn, work portfolio, and I'll show you how to create work portfolio as well. And we found that people who kind of go through and set their resumes up this way, recruiters tell us they have the easiest time kind of processing the information and understanding what they have done and what people have done. So a recommendation I can have is, as much as you can, set up your resume and in this format. So because we kind of have seen to be very effective. Okay. And one of the first things, obviously, I say, when you're setting up the header, right, is make sure that you have your email address and make sure it is a professional email address, and make sure that it has your name, because I see a lot of people have email address that is not related to their name, or something from like when they're in their teens. So I would say create a separate email address specifically for your job search and make sure it has your first and last name somehow. It's okay to have numbers at the end, but I would say even if it's a Gmail account or whatever, just make sure that it has your first and last name. It's key, because when people are looking for you and trying to email you, and if your name is not, like your email is not coming up with your name, people having a difficult time figuring it out. So that is a problem I've seen. So make sure that's an important thing when you're developing your header. And also another thing that we found to be very effective was essentially putting the LinkedIn link, right? And we have found, like, and even research actually showed there's like 40% chance of you getting increases of 40 you getting an interview if you were to put the LinkedIn link on there. So naturally you open up more probabilities of you getting interviews, right? So that's something I highly recommend do. And I will talk about some of the things that you can do to create a really good LinkedIn profile. But the idea is essential to put the link there, at least for now. Okay. And I see 2 questions. So Rabi, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Please correct me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Rabi said, please ask your questions as well.
Yes, you pronounced it correctly.
Perfect.
So I tried changing the way my resume is, because I'm still looking for jobs.
Okay.
So I did partial of my summary as a bullet points, and remove the skills. So I'm not sure if this is good or not, to your opinion.
Yeah. So so one of the things, like, it's funny, like some of the skills and like in the resumes, at least I set up for my clients, some of the skills, like for example, it says over 10 years of experience in digital marketing. I would say digital marketing, like I would have a skills sections, like I would still definitely have a skills section and summary section, because I did actually read the research. When I started doing it, I didn't know the research was there, but I noticed that having a skills section in addition to summary section does actually make an impact, Rabi. So I would say even if it's some of the words are reiterating, like if you're, if it's in civil engineering, you need to read, like, put that, or digital marketing or project management, whatever it may be, just reiterate that. That's fine. So I would say adding about maybe 6 to 10, right? Maybe 8 might be the ideal number of skills maybe you can think about putting. But I definitely should recommend having both sections, because it seems to be effective.
Okay. And should I put like what am I under my name, for instance? Like front-end developer, UX designer, or web designer, whatever the job title?
For in the resume?
Yes.
No, I don't think that's necessary. I think as long as you can say like from the first thing, because one of the things when you look at, I do a little bit of research because a Ladder's resume study, I think it's called Ladder's eye tracking study. It shows you in the resume how like recruiters actually read it. So one of the first things they actually pay attention to is the first sentence in your summary section, right? Some professional summary, and then the first sentence in your resume. So those two has to be super effective. So they don't really pay attention to other things. I think when you're applying for that type, because even if you say like UX designer, you might be applying for like differently named role, right? So you don't want to kind of say the name on the top. You want to kind of say professional summary and get into like how I have outlined here. Say right away how many years of experience you have with the in the industry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You know what I mean? So that's what, and then you can, and then a great question. So, and then I would then list out like basically projects, because I think people, one of the things I wanted to read, right, when I'm hiring people, right, is I want to kind of think about like the kind of projects you worked on as well. So you can talk about that right below that. So I think, I don't know if it's Richika or Islam. I think I'll go with Richika and then I'll go for you, Islam. Richika, please go ahead. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, you've pronounced it correctly.
Perfect.
So my question actually was that I'm also a new immigrant in Canada. I'm on the PR, of course.
Okay.
So I mean, I do have valid work permit.
Right.
But then the challenge that I'm facing over here whenever I'm applying for any kind of job role or even interviewing is that they are expecting a kind of a local experience from you, a Canadian experience. I mean, they will not, they don't, what do you say it up front or have it in the job description.
Right.
But then somewhere down the line, they prefer people who already have it.
Right.
So it becomes difficult as a new immigrant, because until and unless I do get some opportunity, I won't have that. So it's like a vicious circle.
I know. So that's one of the things that I help kind of help university students kind of through the same issue. So one of the main things I kind of help them, how do they get jobs without experience? So one of the things I tell them, like how I got started in Oracle is literally I started my own company. Like, you can, I'm not saying you have to full out start get a registration, all that. I'm not saying that. Just you trying to get for example, what did you study? What were your experience on?
So I've worked into marketing communications for 7 years back in my home country in the field of research of like healthcare, medical devices, etc. So,
okay. So okay, medical. So what type of role are you looking to get into ideally?
Well, a similar kind of role into marketing, into healthcare, or into biomedical industry or biotechnology. Okay. Yes, because my core qualification is into biotechnology, so I get a leverage of having both the degrees of management as well as a science degree. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, so I mean, for you can literally so have you had experience doing marketing for healthcare companies?
Yes.
Fantastic. So you should also already market yourself as a digital, basically marketing consultant for healthcare companies already. Basically say you can honestly build a simple business through Canva, right? Already market yourself. And if somebody were to ask you, oh, what have you been doing? I've been trying to get clients and doing marketing for myself and for my clients I have. Even if you do free work for for a healthcare company or something related to that, even if you do for a random company, right? Digital marketing. I think it will build up that next. It's actually what I tell. I know this is not everybody will agree with me, but you trying to start a business and getting experience, you reading books, you will get a lot more experience doing that than even you going to school sometimes. Than doing, because you're getting really how to manage clients, how to build relationships, how to develop a good product, how to do marketing and sales at the real life level, right? So I would say even if you don't have a job, so you're doing, again, you're trying to build your own business, you're getting your Canadian experience, right? And then you are given the opportunity to experiment it out and pivot to things you like, right? So I would say that's what I would do if I was you. So even if you're like, if there are any students here, right, in these sessions, right? So I would say, like, start your company right away, and
Okay.
like, you know what I mean? Don't wait around and do free work for people, and then, you know, try it out. And then it's, again, like I said, when you do free work, it's like an assignment from university, right? Or in college, right? Like, rather than why you're doing like these like random work and assignments when you can actually help a company serve more customers. You know what I mean? Even if it's for free. So that's kind of, it's a more of a mental shift, right? But that shift have helped my career out a lot, and my clients' careers, right? Like, so I would say that's the recommendation I would give you to improve your skills and improve your experience and develop better network.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. That was really
Right, okay. Perfect. Louis, thank you so much to, you know, for that link for Raghunandan, you know, so very good for sending that for him. So yeah, so one of the things that I want to kind of get it, actually, sorry, Islam, I know you had a question. Sorry about that. If you have
Hi, darling. Just
Sorry.
for the CV resume, I'm just checking with you the number of the pages.
Yeah.
You know, like if we are going to make it one page, is that problem? If that's a problem of one page?
I mean, how much experience do you have? How many years of experience you have so far?
12 plus years
Oh
experience.
yeah, you should have at least 2. Yeah, you should. I mean, one of the things, I mean, like, I've literally wrote a book on it. I'll show it to you. And I mean, and then I'm actually developing a small course on this, as like, if you have a really hard time filling it out, just use ChatGPT. Say, expand upon this. They literally go chat, like, even using the free account. And if you don't have enough content, just say, you know what, I'm improving my resume, expand upon this job description or job responsibilities, right? So use that, use whatever. Like, for me, like, I help people with resume, but I use whatever tool I can to help people get jobs. So if it's ChatGPT, it doesn't matter, if anything, right? If it's because I'm actually now experimenting with recently, helping people create videos as like cover letters. So I'm experimenting with that. So I honestly like use ChatGPT, whatever you can, to make it better, right? So I would say for you, 2 pages would be good if you have 12 years of experience. And where do you have your experience in?
In multi places, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in Europe, in so multi. So I just want to ask you also other question.
Sure.
While we were applying here to the Canada, also like job banks, and what's your thoughts about job bank? Do you think that it's workable here, or just Glassdoor better? Which recruitment is more? Since I got like different reviews about each one. Like some people, they're saying Indeed good. Some other people know the Indeed, they say no, it's not workable. Some other people, they say no, Monster, they have a lot of spam, for example, or junk. For Glassdoor, it's fine. So to be frank, I'm just got here confused. So in the Canadian market,
for sure.
trying to check here. So to trying to help us also.
So one of the things, one of the ones that I recommend for people is there's three of them, right? So I mean, LinkedIn, Indeed, that's going to be the standard one. Glassdoor is pretty good. But if you actually go to Google, right? If you type the say that you're looking for project manager role, right? Type project manager jobs, right? So you see what I just did was I just typed in project manager jobs, and you can see the thing that just popped out, and it says 100+ more jobs. So this is actually what I use. So you can see that. And then what I recommend for people is like basically apply for jobs within the past week or so, or past 30 days. So more recent, the better. So what this is, it will aggregate all the jobs from LinkedIn, from, I don't know if it Indeed, but individual companies. And I know there's all the LinkedIn jobs come here, and then all the other places. I think LinkedIn is the one that most of the jobs are from. but I've seen like from like individual companies who have listed their jobs shows up in here as well, right? So something again for you to take a look at. So and this again works like an aggregator. So all the for my what I call the best jobs, comes here, and then you basically applying for jobs that are posted within the last 3 days and past week will be the ideal for you, because any other jobs, any more than that, there might be just having it displayed and put it to just collect people, right, like leads, right? So
Yes, I have last question, please.
yeah, go ahead.
Just, if somebody like also when we try to apply for the jobs here, 2 to 3 years, they request like about experience. So I don't have like multi options for who will like accept like 10 years, 11 years. So this is also, I felt myself that it will be down like for example, I saw somebody like he is looking for CEO and requesting 2-3 years experience. I talked to myself, how is it 2-3 years experience and CEO? I believe this is not, he cannot do anything with this like very short experience. So what do you think, that it's workable to apply for this kind of jobs? Or
so what is the where do you have your most experience, like, so let me put it, what type of role are you looking to get into?
I'm basically a corporate sales manager or trading manager, import export, for
Trading.
negotiation.
Okay, got it. And then how much experience you have in the field?
I have mostly 10 years
10
only
years.
on the trading, and before was in industrial for hardware, machines, training, other things.
Oh, I honestly, I think it's just a matter of you getting your resume stuff. I think there's a lot of, like, do you have like trading, like industrial equipment? Is that what you mean?
Yes, for the
Yeah,
road.
honestly. Oh man, is like my thing. One other thing is, you just have to get your resume and then get your resume and then get in front of people. I think if you have experience and even want to get into that field, is good enough for you to get into that, because I think especially like Canada is becoming a industrial hub again, right? Becoming manufacturing, because a lot of things are, because the way, I mean, again, things could, are changing in the world, right? Like, US and Canada are starting to produce things, and there will be a lot more trading that will be involved. So I think you just kind of have to kind of get in front of the right people. So have you kind of done any networking, joined any associations, anything like that, or no?
No, I didn't
Not
make
yet,
it.
right?
Just
Okay.
for oil and others also, some oil, some trading for the big like stuff, steel, wood, oil,
Right.
lubricants. So
I
this
would
is
say,
mostly
looking in for
energy.
you, manufacturing. I think looking for manufacturing, looking into type of roles like
That's right.
buyer roles, purchasing type of roles will be ideal for you. I think that's kind of the arena that I would kind of recommend for you. But I think manufacturing, oh man, I think you will be in demand if you have experience and even want to get in. Not everybody want to do that stuff, right? Like, if you ask me, I don't want to do that stuff. But if you if you know that, if you have experience, I think honestly, I think you just kind of have to get your stuff together and then kind of dedicate time to like networking and applying for a few jobs. Not few, but
So I hope all the best for all. Thanks.
yeah. Honestly, if you need to, for me to take a look at your resume, let me know.
I will send you my resume also.
Perfect. Yeah, just
Thank you so much.
Google call here if you need. We'll take a look. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody else had a question. I know I saw a lot of hands up before. Yeah, please. I don't know how do you pronounce your name?
It is pronounced with Tunç.
Tunç, perfect. Tunç, thank you so much.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for the presentation. It was very useful, I guess.
Absolutely.
And I have a question about the now. I was working in aviation industry in Turkey for a couple of years, more than 6 years actually. And also I did my master's degree in international trade and logistics.
Nice.
Yes, but in Turkey again. So I get my VES equivalent here in Canada. And I wonder if but I don't have any experience in logistics or supply chain positions. So when I apply for jobs according to logistics and supply chain, do you think it could be useful to get some certificates from on LinkedIn, supply chain or logistics pathway certificate programs and add to my CV?
Right. So that's I think, yeah, it definitely will help, right? Like I would say, if you're trying to like improve your skills, develop, professional development, always increase in that regard. But one of the things I will say is that if you want to like, meet people and kind of network with people, like what I've seen is like, doing in-person courses to be really effective. And there's a reason for that, because one of the things that I've seen is like some of these courses get referred by employers themselves. So like, for example, if you were to take a UFT course, there's not everybody from that course pays for you. Like, for example, when I took courses, I paid for my courses and you went to the schools and so forth. But a lot of the time what happens is that employers send people to these courses. So when you meet these people in these courses, they already have jobs. They're already looking for people. They're already looking for people who can network and connect with and so forth. So if I can give you some recommendations, like, yeah, definitely improve your skills. Take as many free courses, paid courses. I always recommend it. That's how I learn a lot of this stuff, right? But like strategically speaking, if you want to take courses, see as much as you can, even more than webinars, in-person courses where you can meet other people who are working in the industry. Like, for example, if you would take courses in Centennial, or I don't know if you're in Toronto or not, but UFT, meet people who come to these courses, because some of these guys, some of them are already hired by companies and they have a budget, so they're sending into different courses to complete, use that budget and also get that certification they need, right? So you know what I mean? Kind of think about that mentality. So obviously keep learning, right? But also think about strategically, if you have the budget for it, to pay for these individual courses. I'm not talking about courses like diplomas and postgraduate degrees. I'm talking about these like continuing education type of courses, right? Where professionals take.
On LinkedIn, actually, there are lots of courses, and because of I am the member of the Toronto Public Library, there are lots of almost all the courses actually free. So yeah, that's great. And the bad thing about me is I am struggling meeting with people and start the conversation. So it's
I mean, you're doing a great job with me, so I do the same with others, honestly, right? Like, it's like, honestly, you're doing a great. I mean, when I came to Canada when I was 14 as well, you know how I got good? I started playing sports, rugby and American football. I didn't even know how to play them. Just be around it. You know what I mean? You're doing a great job with me. I think it's just, so like, honestly, it's like most people, like what they want is like a smiling face and somebody who says hi and asks about them, right? Just use questions and smile. It's not hard. I run like, help people with like public speaking and things like that. Like even when I tell them, like, even doing public speaking, is I tell them, like, have a conversation with the audience. Don't try to like, like try to show off. Just have a conversation with individuals in the audience. The same thing, honestly. Like, you already have great skills. You were very polite. You ask, questions, and do the same thing. I think you are doing great. So I think you just
very much.
More volume needed.
You made my day. Thank you.
Perfect. That's great. Fantastic. So any questions? We kind of move on to the next one. Oh, Nat, great work. Put the job fair on there. We should maybe like meet up and maybe we should do a meetup on that, there and live, right? So yeah, so that's the idea, right? So that's kind of how you create a professional summary. I tell set it up a bulleted list, talk about the years of experience, talk about the certifications if you have come across, if you have done any of them, right? and if you have specific tools, it's experience. Like I know like a lot of people don't remember to do this. Like if you have, especially even if you're in HR, project management, account marketing, if you have used any tools, right? Project management tools, marketing tools, anything, make sure that you put that on the on your professional summary, because recruiters are looking for it, right? So make sure to do that. Okay. So that's that, and again, this is kind of how I recommend, right? So this is I would say the third section, right? How I recommend people list out their skills and abilities. So one of the best places you can take a look at skills and abilities that you do require to put in on your resume. Read about 10 to 20 job descriptions and see what things keep coming up, right? Like if you're a project manager, right? Very likely budgeting, right? Project planning, stakeholder management, they will be coming up, right? So you can definitely put them as skills and abilities, because when recruiters first screening, they also don't know the in-depth. So what they're looking for is these keywords. So it's the same keywords they listed up on their job description, is what's going to be they're going to be looking on your resume. So go through job description as many as you can and see if you can narrow down to about 10 skills or 8 to 10 skills that keep showing up in the job description that is related for you or that you have the skills in. If not, obviously that gives you a really good understanding what skill you need to develop, right? For example, like I'm doing career coaching, and if I'm not good at public speaking, that will be a really tough job for me. But I wasn't good at public speaking. I think I would only say I would actually started professionally practicing public speaking about 2 to 3 years ago. But if I wasn't good, then I would say, okay, I need to train. The same if you're a project manager, right? If you don't know how to do, communications, if you don't know how to do budgeting, right? That would be a little tough. So it gives you both. It works both instructionally, and also you should also put that in your resume. Okay, so that's that aspect of it. And the next part of it is essentially your resume experience section, right? So one of the main things that I tell people to do in their resume is that as much as you can, obviously you don't need to quantify everything, right? First of all, use past tense verb when you're listing out the responsibilities you have in the past. And it doesn't need to be complicated. Just if you actually have a job description of the job you got, you can turn it into essentially a past tense of the job description, right? Because you probably have, if you have to plan and execute projects, you can say, planned and executed projects or things like that. And ideally, and another thing is that if you want to spruce it up and optimize it a little bit, use LinkedIn. Like say, whatever you have written so far, say, optimize this or make this experience section in the resume better, and then just kind of list it out, right? So you can kind of do that, right? And then it will start, then you can modify it and so forth. But the key thing I would say is that listing out 2 to 3 quantifiable achievements, right? Like for example, if you completed certain number of projects, if you completed certain number of problems or cases, right? If you sold a certain number of items or number of sales, you can list it out, right? For example, I can talk about how many projects I did. I can talk about how many articles I wrote. I can talk about how many workshops I've given, right? So that's kind of how I post it. You don't need to even if you're in administration, you can talk about how many files you filed or organized. It's okay. It's kind of shows and gives you the context, right? It gives you, for example, if somebody were to say, admin assistant, and if they were to just simply say filed, organizations files, that would be less impressive than say, filed and organized 10,000 files, right? So putting 10,000 makes it more, even if it's 1,000, right? Even if it's not a big number, having a number make an impact. So something for you to think about in the experience section. But this is the kind of the format, right? In the name, and then the company and the city, and then the dates, and then the past tense verbs when you explain the responsibilities, and also specific quantifiable achievements you had. Okay, so that's what I would recommend for you. Any questions about this? I know this is a area that a lot of people have kind of difficulty on how to write the experience section. So that's kind of what I recommend, and it's a repeatable format once you get it going. But it is how I kind of get it written for people. Okay, any questions? Okay, perfect. Let's see. So one of the main things I tell people is that I tell people to essentially separate out the certifications and the education section, because some people have education that is not too relevant to your current role, but you might have certifications or courses that you have done that might be relevant to your current role. So separating that out kind of helps you show to your recruiters you are invested in your learning and invested in taking certifications and courses and invested in like improving yourselves. So I recommend separating it out, and also it's just a lot more easier on the mind and in the head, So yeah, honestly, yeah, I would say it goes in order, right? Like things like Udemy and LinkedIn courses would have an impact, right? It would be better than nothing. But I would say as much as you can, you will see like when I took Udemy courses and when I took like LinkedIn courses, I took them as like ways to solve problems. So if you have taken things like that, list them. Don't leave anything out. If you have taken that is relevant to the role, list them. It doesn't matter if it's from LinkedIn or not. But over time, take more and more courses that are more in person that you can work with other people. Okay, Courtney, please go ahead.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so I just wondered about how far back would you put your experience on your resume? Because I've kind of had some frowns when I saw people receiving 2 pages of my resume. That's kind of like a no thing. You have to keep it on 1 page, or what's the tactic?
I mean, usually one of the things that I've noticed is like 2 pages completely fine. One of the things I've seen, even for some cases, 3 pages. So what type of role have you been applying for, Courtney?
So right now, the other day I just applied for like a publishing house, actually.
Okay.
That I felt kind of had some interest for me, like regarding my schooling and what I trained to do.
Okay.
So I applied for that online. I gave them a cover letter and my resume, but I didn't really highlight those past experiences. So that was maybe more than 5 years ago that I worked those jobs. So how relevant will those experiences in your early career be? Like,
yeah, even if it's early career and it's relevant to the job you're applying for, still put them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the, and then like that's one of the things I would recommend for you specifically. Yeah, even if it's like in the past, I honestly, like no one should frown upon you for having 2-page resume. I don't think that makes any sense, because I mean most resumes, if you have had over 5 years of experience or more, you would have naturally, like if you're a student, it makes sense why you have 1 resume, like 1-page resume. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 2-page resume, you have to talk about your experience. I think is impractical, right? So don't worry about like, if you have gotten few frowns, or I think, I would say like, see if you can polish the content up a bit and see if you can kind of, position things the way I kind of show in this slide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like this style, right? And see, and I'll give you and then I know I'll give you a resume template for this. I know it's connected to my newsletter though, so I'll send it anyway on this. So we have gone, the reason I really like push people for this cover letter and resume is because we have tested and got a lot of positive feedback from recruiters, right? So that's one of the things, because I even have it, I even played around with the colors. I had like blue heading and blue color and everything on that, and people even seem to like that. So but I kind of do black and white because it's kind of make it a little bit more professional, right? So which is kind of like coming on to my last few points on it. Yeah, 2 pages should be okay. It shouldn't have a problem, but try what I with the templates I send out and see if it works.
Okay.
Okay. If any other questions from you?
Not at this stage, no.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah, keep doing. Try that out. And one of the things that I say to also people is, when you're creating a resume, like create multiple versions of it, right? So that way you can test out. I know a lot of people have like one resume and they send that same one out. But I would say, like, create multiple versions with different type, because again, it is the most important document that you need in your career, right? Like there's even, like I would say it's more valuable than your birth certificate, right? Because, like this literally determine whether you can pay your bills, we can pay, advance in your career, get to do what you love to do, all that. So that's one of the things, right? So spend time to create multiple versions, invest time in it. Like it's no point, like years of experience you have and the education you have, if you don't have a good enough resume that can consolidate that and show it to somebody, right? So that's why I really tell people, invest time and money if you have to on resume, and then create multiple versions and test it out. And it is worth it. It is in digital marketing, we do something called A/B testing, where we don't just do, even when you're creating a product or sending an email, you don't send one email. For a certain small group, you test out 2 or 3 versions, and you figure out which one is the best. And then once you figure it out, you then send the best one to the rest of the crowd, right? So very important practice, right? So same thing you can do from your end as well for your resumes, right? So it's essentially, what a resume is essentially your website, right? For like companies have websites and people have resumes, and I mean we have LinkedIn's as well, but that's what it is, right? So make sure you invest in time in your website or your resume, essentially.
I have just one more question. Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I wondered about your presence on social media and like your actual brand, your identity, really, as a like a social footprint of an identity. How relevant is that for LinkedIn and things like Facebook and Instagram? And
yeah, no, I think, Courtney, it's increasing more and more than ever before. I think especially LinkedIn. I think it's becoming over. Like I can tell you, like when I was getting hired for the director roles, even the 2 or 3 roles before that, all of them came from LinkedIn. And you know what I mean? So LinkedIn is becoming increasingly important. And I would say, just start with the basic stuff, like having a good image, having a profile banner. You can use Canva. I'll talk about some of the things that you can use to build it out. But it is more than Facebook, more than Instagram, and all those places. I think LinkedIn seems to be the most effective if you want to like develop yourself professionally and grow yourself. You know what I mean? So it is becoming very important.
Okay.
So I would say I spend time in resume and LinkedIn. Those are the 2. I think a lot of the information is very interchangeable on that.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So sorry, I saw Kieran had a question. So if I work for more than 3 projects in one organization, then what would you suggest? I had to mention in experience or in the project section. So again, Kieran, it depends on how you broke it down. Like if you worked on, if you're listing all the 3 projects itself, you can kind of say, work on it. But if you worked on, you can say, you work on 3+ projects, and then you can talk about, list out what are the things you did in that 3 projects. So 2 options. You can list out all the projects individually on your resume, right? And then responsibilities you've had, or you can say you worked on 3+ projects related to this field, right? And then list out one by one some of the actions, some of the responsibilities you have had in your past role. Okay. Perfect. So Lily has a question. So can you speak to ATS software that companies use? I've changed my resume cover letter to not contain a header, table, contains a yeah, that's so basically one of the things that the resume, the ATS, and I realize is that certain companies use different type of ATS software, so it's not a standard one. One of the main recommendation I would tell for people is that there's a lot of ATS scanners, even like even my resume template, I can say some of them process through, some of them don't, right? So one of the main things I can say is that like put it about into 2 to 3 scanners and see what results you get, because again, it's a very proprietary software oriented. So some software, AT software, tend to be changed from one or the other, right? So the best ideal thing I would recommend is once you do create a resume, process, like, there's a lot of free ATS scanners, right? So put them through an ATS scanner, at least 2 to 3, and see what results you get, and only obviously improve on that, right? I mean, that's something like I try to create like one that fits all. It's challenging, and one of the ones that I want to get is like a lot of my resumes tend to also be executive and leadership, and it doesn't sometimes go through ATS scanners. But what I would say, if you're going through applying for jobs that goes through ATS scanners and needs that, highly recommend you put certain ones through ATS scanner, especially your resume, at least 2 to 3, and see how they show up. I have worked in the computer techniques in the Best Buy. Perfect. Great, Layli, thank you. So Rabbi, you have a question. So I have worked in the computer techniques in the Best Buy in 2 different locations. Do I put each location in the section or put them together? I mean, for you, in your case, you can put if your title didn't change, right? I think you can put it as one experience, to be honest. If your title didn't change, then you did the same thing. If your title even slightly changed, you went from intermediate to maybe senior, something like that, that would be ideal. But if not, you can put it as one experience, That's what I recommend. Perfect. And so I sent everybody the cover letter as well. So one of the things that I've been looking to see, like, I hated sending cover letters because it's always such a pain in the ass to create them. So I found a cover letter that's, that impressed me, and then I modified it until I created a cover letter for my clients and for my courses that essentially look like this. So we found this cover letter to be one of the most attractive and unique because it has a table, right? You can see, and you will see like one of the ways this cover letter is set up in a way that it literally lists out advertised requirements from the job. You can see the table. I'll kind of go through here. It kind of, you can see advertised requirements, right? It basically customizes it, right? Like recruiters love to get personalized and customized emails or cover letters, right? So you customize it by essentially putting out the advertised requirements, right? List 3 of them that are related to your job qualifications, right? So you can see like one of the jobs that hypothetically I was applying for was develops the instructor material for career planning, employer build, job search, skills and workshop and webinars. So my qualification, I have experience doing that. So one of the experience points in my resume, specifically for one of the roles, I literally copy pasted that into here, created slide decks, blog posts, emails, landing pages to run 5+ job skills workshops, right? So you can see kind of how I kind of customize it, and you do this for every job. It literally takes less than 15 seconds to do this, because all you have to do is find the job requirement, copy paste that, and then basically have your job qualifications pre-written. You can either copy paste it from your list or have it already pre-written on your cover letter, and then copy paste essentially the advertised requirements, right? So when people receive it, recruiters receive it, they feel as this is highly customized for them because it mentions the advertised requirements, how they are related to your job, how they are related to your personal qualifications, right? So for me, if I were to receive something like that, I'll be pretty impressed. So I created this for people, and then they seem to finding it very useful, and it seems to be getting a lot of attention from a lot of recruiters as well. And another thing, a lot of people say, you know what, do I have to send a cover letter everyone? One of the main things that the mentality I tell people to take, like, focus on increasing the probabilities that you can get hired, right? So one of the main things, like, if you're not sending your cover letter, right, you're literally like losing out like 30 seconds of activity, or 30 seconds that recruiters generally put on looking at an individual cover letter that they could be putting on yours or on somebody else's, right? So if you have the cover letter, if you have the resume, and I'll talk about how to create a LinkedIn, and if you have work portfolio, if you have 4 of these things, you're naturally increasing time somebody would be putting in looking at your material, right? So that's how it becomes useful for you. So you will see, like, you know what, that's a lot of work. I mean, with this, I sent you the template already, right? So the template itself, you will see it already done the work. So you just have to kind of list out what you're gonna essentially say, right? So that's the idea. So that's I think when I looked at the numbers, I think even when it's asked for a cover letter, like for me, when I used to have a cover letter, I didn't even apply for the jobs, right? But if you send a cover letter, increase your chances. So you can see a lot of people don't end up applying for jobs, even though they start the process, because they don't have a cover letter strategy, right? Or resume strategy. So having these things, you will see, will be very useful for you, okay? And so any questions about the cover letter, actually? No, okay, perfect. And the next one, so essentially LinkedIn, right? So with the LinkedIn, one of the main things I talk about, like one of the main things you should focus on getting it done is essentially your image, right? Very important. Get it professionally done if you can. It will essentially pay off. It's one of the valuable investments you can make, right? I think it's takes like $15-$20, honestly, to get it done. Any place that take professional pictures can do it for you. And then basically update your headline and titles, ideally what type of role you want, right? And you can use this headline format that I've given here below here, right? Job title, keyword. And that's one of the best ways you can showcase like some of the skills you have as well. Okay. And then you can create a banner as well using Canva, right? And I know a lot of people don't and heard of it, Canva, but people don't usually use it, right? So you can use Canva. I'll send you a link. Canva, LinkedIn banner. So you can use LinkedIn Canva to create a LinkedIn banner there, right? So like using that to essentially build it out, it will help you. And then essentially list out your experience in your on the same information you have in your resume if you have completed it, and then you list that up. Okay. And then another most important that you should list out is your skills, right? Make sure that you have listed out all your skills, specifically the ones that you have listed on your resume, right? That you have identified, and make sure you have listed them correctly on your skills section. And then obviously I recommend, getting at least 3 recommendations. It could be your past colleagues, it could be, past managers, anyone who is willing to give you a recommendation, right? So having these few things, right? Like I would say 6 things will definitely make a huge improvement, huge impact on your resume. Sorry, not on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and it will make it look much better. Okay. Any questions about LinkedIn? Perfect. So yeah, if you ask away if anyone has, I'm just gonna see if there's any other questions. ATS was the last one. Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So, and another thing is because I know Courtney asked the question before, is having that impact, having a social media footprint is important. Yeah, absolutely, right? So one of the things, like a lot of people are becoming going on LinkedIn. There's over like I think 1 billion people. So as much as you can use LinkedIn or use different platforms to add people, and then follow people in your field and learn from them, right? I think that's one of the easiest things now. Is like, you know, connect with other people. Is, you know, follow people on LinkedIn and follow it to you know, thing that can contribute to your professional development. And then like content that you like, right? So liking content, adjust your feed, you know, adjust your algorithm to show things that are more relevant to you. So use that function. And use commenting. Like one of the main things I see is being able using comments to build relationships. You know, I say this to everyone to do, but this is something I also struggle with a little. But, you know, like, you know, add me up on LinkedIn and we will connect. And I'm also weekly I'm posting like a job, you know, my findings on job related and what do you call, personal development content as well every week. So add me up on it, and we will be stay connected. Just give me a second. Let me get the link for you, and then if anyone wants to be like, you know, basically want to put their LinkedIn profile as well, please do it. We will connect. So that's my LinkedIn profile. Follow me and connect with me. Add me, right? And then if anyone else want to do that for me to connect with me, just list out on that as well. So anyone else using LinkedIn a lot for job search or? Perfect. Okay. Oh, perfect, Ruchika. Great. Yeah, I think one of the best play, like I told, like I said, like my last 3 roles, right? So be more active on LinkedIn and let's add each other, and then sharing content is actually one of the best ways you can get your name in front of people, right? So make sure to do that, right? So that's something that will work for you. Perfect. Great work, guys. So that's work that good. And make sure that, you know, like I said, comment, right? Comment on people is easy way to you know, build relationship with people. Yeah, and then use LinkedIn to track trends and industry, keep track of industry, right? So those are the main things I would recommend for you to focus on. Okay. Any questions about LinkedIn, cover letter, resume so far? Fantastic. Okay, perfect. Let me see. Anywhere else? Any questions? Perfect. Oh, Luis, go ahead, please.
Hi, Dulik.
Hi.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
How detailed should our work experience in LinkedIn be? Should it mimic the resume, or should it be very, very detailed or not so detailed?
Oh yeah, you did post a question. Sorry about that. Yes, Luis. Yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed, like as long as you have minimally, right, the resume content, that's good enough. But what happens is that if you ideally adding a little bit of more content will works for you better, right? Minimally, I would say at least have the resume content. To improve it even more, add more points if you can, because it improves when somebody's looking for you, like for your role, your skills, and when they're searching, when more content you have in your LinkedIn profile, the more likely that you will come up top on the search results. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. So start with minimally at least your resume, but then increase it, improve it to have a lot more content over time.
I see. I have another question.
For sure.
For example, sometimes, for example, I have built my career on something that is different from my degree, for example.
Okay.
So I did a degree in electronics, and I developed my career in IT, for example.
Right.
And let's say that I am looking for work now, and I could work for either IT or electronics, but I don't have work experience in electronics. How would I try to balance that in my LinkedIn page in case I want to look for jobs in electronics, which I don't have that experience to show?
Right. So are you looking to get into electronics right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I would say is that I would say like I mean like that the way I kind of put it is if it's LinkedIn, like how serious are you? Like for example, like you know, like if you're really serious about like, you know, your next role have to be that specific role, I would say like, for example, like if you're mildly interested, right? Like for example, when I was still working, when I still wanted to be an author, I didn't say anything related to being an author on my profile. Is when I finally fully decided, you know, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to do this, I changed it. So what I would say, if you have say like, you know what, I have decided this is the path I want to go, and you have made a decision, then use on the LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? Before that, what I would recommend is utilize like your LinkedIn to get the role that is more like that is the easiest for you the next. Like what type of experience you have had so far in your career?
In IT, from support
Okay.
to, in my last role was an IT administrator.
Okay. And then you want to get into more electronic stuff, right?
And I had the opportunity to, since I came here to Ghana like 3 months ago, and I've been searching for jobs, and I see that there's also an opening in electronics, which didn't happen in my country, and I saw that as an opportunity to start looking for jobs in that area, which I also enjoy. So I could either get jobs in IT or electronics, but if I could get into electronics, that would be best.
First, okay. So what type of work have you done with electronics?
Not formal jobs, but I have done laptop repairs.
Okay, got it. So what I would do is it's still like
control and stuff like that.
Right. So like one of the things they are like, I would say still like go like for you specifically, I would say like keep your like electronics repair, the type of role that you want to do, still like create a resume for that, but keep your like LinkedIn profile focused on getting what will be the like next best job for you next.
Okay, I understand.
You know what I mean? But keep your business of doing electronics, learn more about it, get into robotics, get into everything, do that, but keep your like do it like it's basically like work on your 9 to 5 to make a living, and then work on your 5 to 9 to make a fortune. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like work on 5 to 9 to develop your like electronics, like work for develop cool stuff. You know what I mean? Then like if it comes up in a job, in an interview or something, bring it up.
I see. Thank you.
You know what I mean? So that's what I did, right? So that really worked out. So that's what I would give you as your recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds good.
Okay. And Ruchika, yeah. So actually, it's good that you pointed out. I actually not tested out on ATS. I do have to scan it with a few ATS scanner to take a look at the table, because yeah, that's a good point that I need to take a look to see if it actually processed through. If not, I might have to make some adjustments to that one actually. So good question asking that one, but I do have to kind of do a little bit of testing to see, because I wonder, yeah, how it kind of shows up in different ATS scanners, the table itself. So if that doesn't work, I have to come up with another format. And then if I come out, I will kind of if you're in my list, I'll keep you posted. But great question. I didn't even think about that, Anne, actually. Good question. Again, these scanners also change, and they change from company to company. So use multiple if you can to kind of organize. I mean, you don't need to get 100% right. Like what I focus on is probability improvements, right? Like 1% here, 1% there, right? So I got 3 here. So kind of like that, like try these ones out, and if they don't work, you know, there's Google has a lot of the ones I do a quick search on Google and see, but yeah, do process them on it, because if you're gonna apply, might as well make sure that you apply for the right way, right? So great question on that. Yeah, so what essentially ATS scanners do is essentially the ATS it's application tracking software, right? So basically, companies do different application tracking software to organize and categorize individuals different from based on different skills and experiences, right? So essentially, we use a kind of scan to see if it actually parsing in or like updating or uploading the information correctly. And then basically without any formatting issues, essentially, right? So the ATS can make sure that when you use it, when you upload a resume to like an employer website or some sort of a application tracking software, when you're applying for jobs, it's basically parsing information and it's basically displaying your resume correctly. So that's essentially. So one of the main things I also tell people is that when you're sending your resume, make sure that you send it as a PDF file because it will prevent a lot of the problems, rendering issues associated with different computers, right? Some people use like Microsoft Word from like 97, right? So you want to make sure that it's compatible on across all computers. You send it as PDF. You can easily do that using save as or print as, right? So hopefully that answered your question, Kristen. Essentially, it categorizes and finds the keywords and categorizes people when you upload your resume. Okay, perfect. So let me see any other. Any races for interviewing skills? Great question. So you should look at the next. We should take a look at the next slide for that one. Is it MG? Sorry, I don't have your first name here. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
It's Mita. Sorry, I didn't know how to change it on my profile.
That's okay.
I'll try to make it quick. I just wondered. So I have been a caregiver for an elderly parent. And things are stable now,
okay.
But I have a test for a government job on Monday, and I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
In the past, I brought it up with a company, and even though I brought it up, like it still did not go well. Anyway, but like there were some legal issues. Anyway, but that situation has stabilized now. But my question is, should I bring it up? And if I do, at what point? Does that make sense? Because I know there's some risk, but at the same time, I want to be upfront that I might have to do. I might get a call from a doctor that I. Does my question make sense?
Yeah. So is it okay if I ask you what's the role you're applying?
So I'm a POA. My mother has dementia, but she's in a home now.
Okay.
And there were some legal issues so now that she's stable, I'm trying to get back to like work. And I think it's doable, but I just don't know if I should bring up the fact that I'm a caregiver or if I need to, and if I do, at what point.
Right. I mean, I would say, again, it really depends on the recruiter, right? But the thing is, like, to be in the safe side, I would, it's again, I didn't even know. It's like bringing up personal situations as much as I can, I would reduce. And unless it comes up, unless you have no other choice, but, no, actually I was working on it, but this is what I was doing. But as much as you can do is like you focus on what you can do and what you have learned so far or what you're willing to learn, right? That's I would kind of direct the question towards. But unless they specifically ask about what happened and why, unless they direct the question into that direction, I would just kind of keep it as much as you can, like professional, and then what you're doing on the future. But if they because they might have reasons to ask you too, you know what I mean? If they ask specifically, then they know something and they just want to have a confirmation towards certain thing. But if they don't bring it up, I wouldn't see a need for it.
Okay. And then when it does come up, do I, if something comes up, then do I just have a meeting with the manager? Or so you're saying don't bring it up?
Unless they bring it up, and then because it depends on how much would they know about your situation? No,
well, I was thinking I should be upfront about it to let, but you're saying to not.
Yeah, I mean, if it like, that's the thing, is like, you can say there was a situation that I needed to work on, which this is the reason I took some time, and then kind of move forward to what, because again, like, it depends on, like, for example, like I said, that's what I'm saying, like, the background of it is like, how much would they care to know? Do they care to know, do you think?
Well,
is it a new managers or?
No, I'm not working at the moment. I'm looking for work. But it sounds interesting.
I thought you when you meant you're going back. I think you meant going back to like your previous.
No, I mean that, like, going back to.
Yeah, then in that case, yeah, I wouldn't really bring it up unless you have to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You
Okay.
know, unless I think I would keep it, and then you focus on, like, what you worked on professionally to develop yourself, and then you talk about what you will do in the next role and what you're looking forward to doing.
Okay, thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what I would focus on. Okay, ask away if you have any more questions.
Well, sorry, I was just it's because part of me was thinking, because there are a lot of skills that I use there, but yeah, I'm just thinking there's.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, you mean like helping? Yeah, one of the
I'm managing like health and finances, and there's a lot of communication that I've really mastered. But
yes,
I think
you're trying to see how to bring that into the.
But I think there's risk there
if you bring it up. Yeah. So when was the last time you worked?
I actually did each week. I did work.
Okay.
2023.
Okay, got it. So then you're fine. Honestly, like, then basically kind of bring it up. Like, one of the main things I say, like, okay, we're perfectly in the interview section. So one of the main things I say to a lot of people is that when they're preparing for interviews, like, think about like about 3 to 4 or 3 to 5 projects, or 3 to 5 main like problems or project they worked in their career, right? Like, for example, if you go into, like, if you worked on a specific project related to implementing a software or something like that, so you probably have a whole list of actions you did for that problem. So make sure that 3 to 4 5 problems are written down, and specifically what actions you took, right? And then what I do is literally this interview coaching, what I literally tell people to do is, once you have that 3 to 5, repeatedly bring those projects up in the interview questions.
Okay.
Right. So they'll be like, oh, tell me about a time you had a difficult time dealing with the client. Sure. Let me tell about this. And then you bring out the project and you talk about what you did. And then they'll probably ask you, oh, tell me at a time where you had to do a project from beginning to the end by yourself. And then you bring up one of the projects. So you will see, you'll be able to, once you have preset, like, you have to do this before interviews. Like, and one of the main things, that's why I even tell a lot of people, is that the best they can do is do this exercise where they come up with 3 to 5 projects they have done in the past. Even if you haven't done it, start on working on projects. You know what I mean? So that's what I tell people, right? Start working on your own, because you can position yourself as a part-time caregiver, right? Like, you can say that. And then you can, like, that was a project I had to work on. I had to do all and this is the problem I had to resolve. And then the problems are gone because I worked on it. So mentally orient yourself towards interviews, talking about a problem, actions you took, and the results you had, right? Talk about, oh, my client had this issue. My boss had this issue. My team had this issue. So this is what I did. This is what I did. This is what, like, list it out. And then repeatedly practice that, bringing them. And then I tell you, is that one of the things, like, keep them written down. That's why I recommend for people, keep creating a interview success document, is keeping literally a document that is meant for interviews, right? So write these things in there, and then use that 5 or so projects you came up with to answer your 20 to 30 interview questions that may come up, right? Like, for example, things like tell me about yourself question, what are your strengths, what are your skills, because they're going to all be asked in a project fashion. Like, for example, if you're telling that you're good at sales, talk about a project that you had to develop sales, where you had to sell software for, I don't know, teachers or principals or something, right? So position yourself, things like, okay, this is the problem I had in my previous company. These are the actions I took.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So orient your, interviews that way, and it will make it easier for you to kind of talk about it, right? So like many people, like, I have noticed a pattern where like they talk about a lot about education and how much skills they have learned. I say, let go of that. I would say focus on, here's the projects that I have done, here's what I have done, here's what I've learned on those things, and stick to that. People make a mistake of talking about how much education and how many awards they got. They are great, awards are great, but most think what people want to hear on the other side. Like for me, if I'm hiring anyone here, what I main thing I want to know is what projects you worked on and what actions you have taken. That's it. I really don't care a lot of other, things. You know what I mean? That's reality, right? So that's kind of the things I would say. And then the more you can think about it, that's the best way. And then repeatedly practice. And then another, I would say, like one of the things you can do is like creating a portfolio to kind of the showcase, right, the problem, actions, and the results. So I'll show you on the next slide, which kind of goes hand in hand with interviews, is essentially creating a portfolio regardless of the field you're in, which is a very important thing. And it's basically the portfolio material is going to be the problems you worked on. It's not going to be complicated. It's very simple. I'll show you how to create one. Like the stuff I create is very simple, but very effective. It's just when you package them up and when you send them, they have a huge impact, right? So yeah. So, and another main thing is in interviews, make sure that you are actually trying to make a friend, right? Rather than trying to get a job. Because if you were to make a friend with your interviewer, you're probably able to get more than 1 or 2, 3 jobs. You know what I mean? Like they will refer you to jobs that are other jobs that are not even the one you're applying, even if you're not the right fit. But if you're just trying to get a job by like trying to like lie to them and misrepresent, it won't go well. And I've noticed that the more honest I am, as much as I can, and even tell them like, look, I don't know how to answer that question because I never had that experience, but I'm willing to learn and grow. They like that more, that answer, than me trying to come up with an answer where I'm just like grabbing answers from out of the thin air, right? So focus on really mentality should be in the interview. You're going to make a friend and talk about some of the projects you worked on. So that's literally kind of what I'm doing with you. I'm kind of like meeting friends and talking about helping other friends get jobs, and what I have done. Right. So same thing when you're interviewing, what you have done. Okay, what have you done to help your friends in the past, right? Or companies in the past. That's what a company is, a bunch of friends, right? So that's kind of the way I would position it for anyone who is preparing for interviews. It's a mentality shift, because I know a lot of people feel anxiety and things like that. Just honestly go make friends and then talk about the projects you have. Ideally, have those projects prepared early so you can talk easily. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way I talk about. And then think about like even the mentality of the interview, because they honestly, what are they looking for? Interviewer recruiters are looking, they're just like me and you, looking for somebody ideal, who's personable, who's friendly, right? To work together and get along. Because even when I'm looking for somebody, I'm not looking for the best marketer or best teacher or whatever. I'm looking for a person who have at least skills, who can do the job, but who's really friendly, who can get along, right? Show that in the interview, that you get along, you're friendly, you're agreeable, rather than, trying to come off as you know everything and everything. Rather than show as like, these are the projects I've done, I'm willing to learn the things I don't know, and I'm looking to make friends here. I know that's a different, maybe a mentality, but it works for a lot of people from from people who I worked with so far. So that's one of the things. Then and then send thank you email. We've noticed that people tend to have you top of their mind. Obviously, if you had a friendly interaction, and if you send a thank you email, just thank you for their time. Fantastic, right? So Nat has a question. Let me make a quick read. I have been told, and not to mention that I've been laid off. Been answering question, why did you leave your last employer? Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's a bit of a trick. I mean, if you've been laid off, right? So one of the main things I kind of say, sort of like, you know what, like I kind of like, you know, I put in like, you know, I wanted to explore, you know, different career options, and I feel like this is where what I wanted to do, and then I'm now looking to develop and grow my skills in a new arena, and this is the reason I'm applying for. Apply for this role, and this is what I want to do. So that's kind of, I would kind of like, you know, shift the conversation where, you know what, I'm kind of I wanted to develop my skills and my experience in and doing this new work anyway. So it wouldn't, you know, again, so I wouldn't really, unless they ask you, did you get laid off? I wouldn't bring it up. I would just position that as I'm just looking for a role in this, and then it wasn't kind of meeting my needs, and obviously it wasn't the right fit with the company I knew, right? So I'm looking in my career direction in this arena. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't definitely pick it up if naturally, but I would say, no, I'm actually, I decided to take some time and to study and develop my skills, and I've been doing a little bit of consulting for people in the same time in this area. And then this is what I want to, the stuff I want to do next is basically the company, you know, the responsibilities that your company have listed in the new company. So that's the kind of the way I would position that. Do you know what I mean? Nat, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, perfect. I think I think we're almost out of time as well, so I'm gonna kind of show you the portfolio. So this is kind of the portfolio that I was kind of talking about before, right? So this is the kind of idea about how to, you know, how to create a portfolio. It's very simple. You just talk about how many years of experience you had, and then you list out your problem, your actions, and your results in this format. And then basically you can do that for every project you have done, and then you can bring them up in your interview, and especially during you know, tell me about yourself. You know what, you can be like, you know what, can I actually show you few slides few slides essentially related to my role that I've done before, right? Some of the projects that I worked on, and then you can show that. It will go far. Do I have a quick picture in my portfolio? Definitely not. You definitely don't need to. It's just something I put for my one, right? Definitely don't need to put pictures on your picture on there. Don't even need to actually put pictures of like screenshot of like things you worked on. Literally put the company logo and then talk about what you did, right? Like it's literally what in B2B marketing that's called a case study, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're just creating a case study for people to see. Okay, so that's the kind of the idea.
So hopefully you enjoyed that session, and if you like to get more videos like this and watch more videos like this, feel free to subscribe, and I'll keep you posted. Okay, take care.